We have chosen a spectacular location for a very special dig. It's Time Team's 30th birthday, and we are celebrating in style.
Morning. I went to university, I just can't put up a tent.
It's not even my tent, I don't know what I'm doing.
The fields where we've set up camp are farmed by the family of our very own Derek Pittman, who's found lots of pieces of Roman pottery over the years. So in 2021, he and Lawrence decided to do some geophys and a small excavation. But instead of a Roman villa, they found 2 Iron Age burials.
Iron Age burials in this part of Dorset rarely survive in these soils, so we've got a golden opportunity to investigate what could be a rare Iron Age cemetery site, and maybe even find out where these people were living and how they were living.
And also to find out something about that Roman material as well. And we've just got 3 days to do it. The farm is on the Isle of Purbeck in Dorset. During the Iron Age, it was inhabited by the Geophysics, who lived here for centuries before and after the Roman invasion in AD 43. John's already managed to complete a geophysical survey of the fields, which are overlooked by the Purbeck Ridge, studied with prehistoric barrows and earthworks and the impressive medieval ruins of Corfe Castle. To the north of the site is Poole Harbour, which the Romans used during the invasion and has been an important trade route throughout history and prehistory. But on the morning of day 1, this stunning location is obscured by thick fog. And you had no idea that there were Iron Age burials here, is that true?
Absolutely no idea. We were here looking for structural evidence, Roman buildings, perhaps industrial material. What we didn't expect was to dig down a bit deeper and find 2 Iron Age burials. This soil just doesn't preserve bone well, so it was a real surprise to see these 2 here.
And what are the sorts of dates that we're looking at?
So we've got a carbon date that basically puts it at 0 plus or minus a few years, which means these individuals were living right at the end of late Iron Age Britain, just before the Romans came. In fact, their descendants, their offspring, probably saw the transition to Roman Britain.
Amazing. And what does the geophys tell us, John?
Well, there's just so much going on. Ignore the large anomalies, those are pipelines. But we've got a mass of enclosures spread over such a large area. Now, this is where you put the original trench in, and that seems to be set within this enclosure. More enclosures beyond, then a whole series of pits. Straight linear features, could those be Roman?
And so what would the strategy be then with such a rich site?
Well, we know we've got to start with our initial trench. I think we've got to expand that. We've got to understand the context it's in. So we only did a 5x1. So we're going to grow that, understand the relationship to this enclosure that's found here, which I mean, it's pretty interesting, isn't it, John, that enclosure?
Well, when I first saw it, I thought it was a banjo.
What's a banjo?
Oh, that's a classic Middle Iron Age site. I mean, the clues in the name. It's shaped like a banjo. You've got a big circular top bit in the north with what looks to be an avenue coming up into
There's
it.
the avenue. There's mixed views about how they were used. I mean, they could have been high status. Some people have argued. Others have said they're just cattle enclosures. So the cattle would be pulled in this way. But you've got the burials inside, which makes it a bit confusing.
Exactly. So I think we need to expand on where we were first, and we want to understand the purpose of the site. Are there more burials, and what's its relationship to the age of phasing to that ditch?
So as the sun begins to break through the lingering morning mist, we're getting ready to place Trench 1.
So these pegs are the footprints of your evaluation trench, is that right, Harry?
John Millwood and Harry Manley from Bournemouth University worked with Derek and Lawrence on the original dig and have joined Matt to find and expand the 2021 trench. Our initial task is to find out how the first century burials and the possible kiln they found relate to the large enclosure ditch on the Geophys.
It's very soft soil, isn't it? So I think we'll have to be careful. We'll just take the top off with the machine and then as little as possible, really. And then it's going to be hand digging really down to this level here, isn't it?
The first thing the 2021 trench revealed was a medieval post pad, about a foot above the possible kiln. So we're expecting to have centuries of complicated archaeology to untangle before we get to the Roman or Iron Age levels.
Perfect. Got our first find.
First find, pottery. Ooh, what's that? It's
It's orange on the inside, which is interesting. So
yeah, I thought it was black burnish red, but it's not, is it?
It kind of fools you. On that side, you think, oh, maybe it's black burnish red. Turn over, that's probably some form of medieval pottery. So
right, okay.
Yeah, so actually in the right kind of layers, because we found that medieval post pad at around 30 to 40 centimetres. So we're getting down to that level. So
that's great.
I think, yeah, the digger's taken off to a good level now. You can just see these bits of orange here. So we're getting fragments, flecks of bioturbated material, some inorganics in there. So we're just coming down below that plough soil now, aren't we?
Yeah.
So we're getting down to the right level. I keep thinking I'm seeing shale here as well, which is exciting. But
what is that? That's not shale, is it?
No, that's probably a bit more prehistoric pottery, actually.
Oh, right.
But that's a fragment, so that's been kicked around in the soil for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're getting a good mix now. But that's lovely, that is.
Yeah.
That's probably just sat on that surface for 600, 700 years.
Okay, do you get that, John? Yeah. Fire up.
It's looking promising in Trench 1. But before we can put our second trench in, our metal detectorist team is scanning the area for small finds.
I've got my glasses on.
The 2021 team thought they could see evidence of another skeleton near the two that they lifted, so we're taking things slowly.
It's reassuring that we've been able to relocate our trench, actually.
We're definitely in the right place.
Yeah. We should begin to see where that trench widens out slightly, and that's where we're getting the skeleton. So this is really positive.
And in the dome, Martin Smith has laid out the burials so that he and Jackie can re-examine them. The carbon date was taken from the later burial, which cut through the smaller one underneath.
Well, I'm quite surprised, actually, that they are this well preserved, because this is heathland. It's really acid soils. So, tell me what we've got here.
Well, what we have is, firstly, a small and lightly built individual. Most of the long bones, well, all of the long bones, in fact, we can see the ends are fused, so that person has finished growing, except what's really of interest is these two bones here.
So this is the clavicle or the collarbone. And we can see, yes, that's not fused there, is it?
So this is suggesting that this is more likely this person's in their early 20s.
Their early 20s. And that's the last bone to fuse, and after that it's all downhill, as it were.
That's
the finished growing. So I'm guessing it really is female.
Absolutely. So if we look at aspects of the pelvic bones, we can see this curve here. This is what we call the greater sciatic notch. That's got a form that we tend to see in female individuals. We've taken some measurements.
Quite wide. It's wide rather than narrow, so it's opening up that pelvic girdle. And the skull also?
Well, if we look at the brow ridges or the lack of them, we can see this person's got a very smooth forehead, and again, that's the sort of form that we would tend to see in female individuals. So we've got lots of indicators.
That's sharp as well, isn't it? The margin of the orbit is very sharp.
Absolutely.
This woman was, well, we'd say gracile, but petite.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have never seen a collarbone quite that lightly built in
Absolutely,
an adult.
they're really slender, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's really quite surprising. In fact, that's the sort of normal size and shape you would see in a child.
Yes, yeah. Right, so this is our other one. This is the one that originally, I think when you took a rapid scan of it, you thought might be male, but it's still, that's tiny, but this is still really quite small.
Absolutely. Both of these individuals come out as very, very small by our standards, something like 4'11", 5 foot nothing.
Oh, crumbs, and that is actually below what we, for this period, we would expect to be an average. And I think, actually, it's probably one of the smallest pair of individuals I've seen generally from this period.
And the question was, what could this actually be? A small, gracile, relatively lightly built male?
Yeah, and I can see how, if we look at that greater sciatic notch again that we saw over the other side, that actually looks fairly tight, but that one looks wider to me.
That's it. Now we've reconstructed
looks feminine,
them.
yeah. And looking at bits of the skull also, although comparatively speaking, this looks heftier
Absolutely.
and more
This-
robust, they still look quite feminine. Now we've had a better look at it, I think it's more likely female.
I think I'd agree.
Yeah, but what about age?
This person's certainly a little bit older. This joint here,
Yeah.
called the auricular surface, this is where the pelvic bones join onto the spine, and that deteriorates as people are getting older.
Yeah.
And we can see that the degree of deterioration there is telling us that this person is certainly a little bit older, into their 30s, maybe early 40s is a guess.
Yeah.
We can look at the spine. We're not seeing much in terms of deterioration on this spine, in terms of sort of arthritic changes that people pick up as they get older. So that suggests this person isn't of hugely advanced age,
Yeah,
but they're certainly older than
Yeah.
individual number one.
And the tooth wear's heavier as well than it is with the other one.
So, we have two women buried on top of each other in the Geophysics tradition, in a flex position, and we know that the younger woman died sometime before the older. Further DNA analysis might tell us whether they were related, but we know at least one was buried between 50 BC and 50 AD. And we're already getting pottery dating to a similar period in Trench 1.
Nice piece, 1st century. Acute angled burnished line lattice decoration, but I can't tell whether it's pre or post conquest. I suspect it's post.
Yeah, okay.
It's reasonably well fired, reasonably hard.
And now we're beginning to see the first signs of a building.
So yeah, we've got 1, 2, 3 there.
Another one coming up there as well.
Yeah, so I would say it could be another one of the post pad type features, couldn't it?
Yeah, whether it's part of the same structure or whether it's just another structure which is close by.
Yeah.
Unsure, but that's really nice because they're all together and they seem to be forming a coherent unit. Then probably we can say it's not just a random scatter of stones. It's actually forming something. So that's really nice.
There's that one. There's actually one underneath there as well.
Okay.
And your first post pad, your other earlier post pad was.
It was about 4 metres away, Matt, approximately here, and around the same depth as well, which is interesting. So again, that suggests it's contemporary.
We're just coming down onto the top of it now, aren't we? So.
And just by the post pads is another piece of Romano-British pottery.
Ideally, we want to find some of this amongst the stones.
Wedged inside.
Yeah.
So maybe the post holes are from a building that stood here at the same time as our Iron Age women were living here. The story of their settlement, which we hope to uncover over the next 3 days, will feed into a wider investigation into the Geophysics that Miles Russell has been leading at Bournemouth University for 15 years.
I suppose it's the hill forts that dominate discussion of Iron Age Dorset.
Yes.
They are so massive, they're so impressive and monumental, but they seem to be going out of use by about 100 BC. So it's almost a century and a half before the Romans arrive. And what we're missing is really what happens afterwards. And it could be that the site that we're looking at is one of these more lowland settlement sites, less sort of defended, because there's no need to defend their families and their resources at that stage. So it's the kind of site that hasn't been investigated much in the past, because it's not so obvious, because it's not so monumental. And I think that makes it far more important, because it's probably telling us more about everyday activities and more sort of normal sort of trade patterns and things.
I think John's geophysics give us a real insight into the sort of local activity that's taking place as well. So we're seeing what look to be pits and activity. There might be industry, there's almost certainly going to be industry taking place here. We've got these enclosure type features, which I think we'd call them banjo enclosures, wouldn't we, Miles?
Yes, yeah, that's that banjo and antenna enclosures. Certainly there is one nice sort of distinctive ditch that we can see on here, and it looks like there is an entranceway coming off it. So a funneling entrance down, and possibly sort of other enclosures like petals around a flower, with a major settlement area in the middle. That looks like the kind of banjo enclosures that we've been investigating in Dorset before. So we think of that as a settlement zone, a farming zone. There's probably other similar enclosures, like a linear development. And I think it's all those together that gives us this sense of quite a large settlement and industrial and agricultural area of production.
Banjo enclosures are typically mid-Iron Age.
Yes.
And so they could be high status, they could be stock enclosures, vary in composition, sometimes a ditch on the inside, sometimes a ditch on the outside. But the burials that we found when we first dug here, they're zero, sort of bang on zero, maybe a little bit BC, maybe a little bit AD, but they're repeating Geophysics burial traditions, but they're burying them inside a banjo enclosure. So are they revisiting this site, or is it contemporary? There's some real questions to be had.
And are there banjo enclosures that give us a sense of what we might find?
So yes, this is an excavation we did at Winterbourne, Kingston, up near Bear Regis. Obviously, it's an aerial photograph. You're looking down. You've got the two ditches of the banjo enclosure coming here, and then the ditch goes off around in that direction, and then down here.
I see.
So you're looking at that's the entrance, and then much of the interior is given over to these circles are storage pits, probably for grain or other sort of dairy produce. And then we've got things like this one round house you can just about make out the gully for here, and there's another one over there.
If it is a banjo enclosure, it's the furthest south to have been discovered, so anything we can learn about it will be important. And we should have a number of Iron Age roundhouses inside where extended families would have lived. There's nothing obvious on the geophys, but there's a hint of something round in the enclosure adjoining it. So we're putting a second trench in to investigate.
And that's the so-called ring ditch.
Do you think it is?
I'm borderline, that's why I wanted to take in this outer ditch.
Yeah.
Because this outer ditch appears to join with the banjo enclosure ditch. And so they're going to look at the relationship there. If this is a ring ditch, then there should be a good feature in the middle. But you've got this now. Well, I can see it.
Oh yeah. That came up straight away. And there's a kind of weird blob coming out of. Is that, that's actually showing up. This is weird. I was actually matching up with the geophysics, John. That's weird.
It happens all the time.
Meanwhile, in Trench 1, we've hit something that might suggest industrial activities within the banjo.
We're getting a good spread of something. If we've got a structure which is then collapsed over, maybe.
And this stone could be a part of the stone structure, do you think?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's certainly big enough, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
It looks like it's been heated as well.
Yeah, look at this. Look, it's going on down here.
Fantastic.
Look at that.
Okay, yeah. Something's trying to pop out here, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it's really clear. You can feel it as well. It's rock
Is that
solid.
ash? Is that ashy over there?
Yeah, but everything is burnt. Everything's kind of mixed up. Overfired pottery. I think we've got the edge of a kiln or something for sure.
Fantastic, and that's right on the back edge of our trench, which was showing up in the geophysics as well. So we could be coming down onto one of those targets we're interested in.
Yeah, and look how shallow it is. We were thinking, right, we need to go down, 30, then we went 40. So actually probably go down to 60 centimetres
maximum, yeah. And then we've got the post pads at the far end of the trench, which are, 40 to 50 centimetres down. And in the middle, where we've got nothing, we've got even deeper. Oh, my word.
Oh, wow, look at that.
That is beautiful.
Can you see the decoration on there?
Yeah. And you've got the top of is that the rim going across the top there as well, where your hand is?
Yeah, and kind of...
the striations on there.
Beautiful, we get that cleaned up. Yeah. And that is that Romano-British?
It's very, very late Iron Age into the very early Romano-British period.
Beautiful. And found right on top of a kiln, which is quite handy.
It's telling, isn't it? Ideal.
And we'll just kind of go back,
Any large settlement is likely to have had a number of furnaces used as pottery kilns or for other industrial purposes. And in this area, there is a lot of ironstone, so we've invited Hayden Scott Pratt to construct the kind of furnace that might have been used to smelt iron. This looks like fun. So what's happening here? Can I have a go? What's going on?
Anybody can join in. These two are our very expert mud mixers from Bournemouth University, mixing the mud with which we're going to make these. Here you go. Thank you.
That is quite something, isn't it? So what is this?
Well, it's a clay brick, isn't it? It's a bit of furnace wall.
Yeah. So these are bricks of clay that we're making from local clays that we've dug up, basically, to build a later Iron Age iron smelting furnace.
And it's got lots of what looks like hay in it. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, that's it. That's organic temper, and that will help hold the clay together as it dries, basically like kind of rebar in concrete. So it's really strong.
Wow. And so this is going to survive high temperatures, is it? I mean,
we're going to subject the inner lining of that to temperatures well in excess of its melting point. So the majority will survive. So we've got to try and make the iron before the whole thing kind of starts to dissolve. It's all an experiment, but you know.
With enough bricks prepared, we're ready to start building the kiln.
They seem to me to be big, to be going around that.
This is the fun part, but essentially it's going to be roughly...
Oh, is that the size of it?
That's the internal diameter, and then we will be putting...
Oh, right. Okay.
So put that one just there. Yep.
Right. So if you'd passed through this landscape in this period, there would have been women, children, men, all kind of working in this way, stamping on the mud, creating these clay bricks, and building these kilns.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll make them a little bit thinner because we're already thinning up a little. 20 minutes. I've already brought some over. And it starts to get musical at this point.
Oh, lovely. Resonant.
And essentially we're making a giant ceramic vessel.
Matt's expanding Trench 1 towards the banjo ditch, away from the possible kiln where the type of pottery we've been finding has pushed our story into the later Roman period.
What date's that?
It's very late 4th, 5th century.
Wow. So that's stretching the story.
It certainly is. It's right at the end of the black burnished ware industry in Wareham Pool Harbour. Everything was going pear-shaped within the local economy, and the potters had one final attempt at commercialisation in this sort of fabric. Generally orange at a time when everything else has been black or brown. The finger-tipped rims, rope-rimmed jars, big jars, potentially for a completely different purpose than anything they've made in ceramics before.
That is nice.
So where Dan's working now, if that's the furnace where this pottery is being made, that's incredible, right?
It is. That's the first one we will have found.
The first ever?
Yeah.
The discovery has had quite an emotional effect on Rachel.
James Gerard wrote it up. I was the first person who identified this stuff.
Wow.
And if I've now got the first kill...
That's overwhelming.
It's more than I can cope with.
Yeah.
So if this is a late Roman kiln, there must have been people living and working in these fields for centuries. The question is, in what way did the settlement develop? And did they have to adapt the way that they were living? We've recruited a number of eager students to help Corenza work out how far the settlement stretched with a series of test pits.
So we're going to do 8 test pits in this field, sort of 4 of them closer to the hedge, 4 of them further away, and hopefully they'll give us an idea of whether there's similar amounts of material coming out from this part of the field as there is in the main bit, in which case it'll mean the settlement isn't tailing out, it's carrying on here and it's just the geology is a bit different. Or if we get very little here, it'll suggest that the settlement does end closer there, and then we'll maybe do the next run of test pits the other side of the hedge and get a bit closer. But that's the basic principle. Okay.
Stuart has started his landscape survey by trying to locate the most important of features, a water source. And he's following the hedge line between the test pits and the main excavations.
I'm now walking down the hedge line that defines the southern side of the field with our excavations in. And I've dropped down again into the valley that I've been following. And rather interestingly, as I get to this point, I can hear water tinkling, and there's water coming into the drain alongside the hedge line here, but that water will be coming from somewhere. That's not rainwater at the moment, it's not water from drains or anything like that. Somewhere higher up the slope is going to be a spring that's bringing that water down to this point, and then it's being managed into drains. Well, it's rather nice to hear that sound about where might water be on the site.
The sound of trickling water should lead Stuart to a spring further up the hillside. We're well into the afternoon, and in Trench 2, Hilda and Ivan have come down on features very quickly. but there's no sign of a ring ditch as yet.
Where's my roundhouse?
Don't know yet, but we are getting a lot of features.
Okay, what's this? Is it one ditch or two? It looks forky.
So we thought it was one ditch when we did the first trip here, but it seems to split up or widen there with a bit of potential natural in the middle. So.
And that's cut by a later field drain, I presume?
Yes, there's a couple of field drains in this trench as well.
So the roundhouse should be there, but it's a bit higher up there. So does that mean we need a bit of manual cleaning to figure that out?
Yeah, so we left it a bit higher there because we don't want to accidentally cut it away with the machine because it could be quite shallow.
Could be really ephemeral.
So we're just giving it a good hard clean.
Great.
So Ivan's already doing a great job there.
Trench 1 is now enormous, and Jackie started to look for signs of a cemetery next to where the two women's graves were discovered.
Talk me through the strategy. Where have we got to so far?
Right, so our blue flags here, they're our original trench.
Okay, so this is the end of that trench where we had the two burials.
Exactly, so where Jackie's working, she's working in this our trench extension, where we had our two burials, and possibly we had that hint of a third one. So we're just really trying to...
that would be just there,
Just
right?
under there, yes. Do you remember the furnace, or what
Yeah.
we were calling a furnace? That was characterised by sort of orange clay, and we're getting more of that, which is brilliant. So
But what's this in the corner, Harry?
We've got that there.
Okay, so that's a continuation of the what we thought
what
was
we're
a
hoping
kill.
for. But the big news is, in our extended trench, in the bigger trench, we've got what looks like another furnace. Okay.
I mean, this looks much more substantial, though.
Yeah. So this is stone built, whereas over there we've got melted sort of clay, burnt clay, and so on.
I mean, could this just be tailings of burnt clay, scrapings from the furnace? Does it?
It could be. Yeah, it may be maybe the remnants of what was going on over here. We're not quite sure yet.
Running right through the trench, the geophys shows the line of what should be the big banjo ditch.
So what we're standing on here, I think is natural.
I'm going to disagree.
That's fine. You're allowed to.
I think that this. Sorry, guys. I'm actually thinking archaeologically for a second. I think this is a bank, Harry.
Well, it could be the.
Like if you imagine the ditches here.
Yeah.
This is all upcast. This is natural, but it's really positive natural.
And then they've got.
So this is later guff filling in up against the ditch. So that is true natural, where Jackie is.
Yeah.
So that is the level of our true natural. This could even be a buried topsoil with all the scrapings of the kiln and the guff of life. I mean, you've even got it here, look.
So it's this
It's
coming
white.
around here,
Yeah.
the white there.
Yeah. Could it not be?
It could be.
Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to keep digging. James has already found a lot of pottery in the ditch, which should help us to date the enclosure. Dan's trying to confirm whether Harry's kiln theory holds water, and Jackie's spotted some bone fragments which have survived despite the acidic soil.
I don't think that's... Yeah, that's a piece of animal bone, it's not human. It doesn't look in situ. The thing is, just because it's animal bone doesn't mean to say it's nothing to do with the burials, because of course the burials would sometimes have had animal offerings in the graves.
That's right, so
So
bits of meat
it's, yeah,
with them.
bits of meat could
Yeah.
go in there. So
Yeah, it's quite telling. I mean, we
Yeah.
haven't found any other animal bone, have we?
yeah,
Apart-
yeah. So it's
So-
still an important find.
Yeah.
Where Jackie's digging should be the heart of the settlement, but we're beginning to find evidence it stretched all the way into the test pit field.
Oh, can we peel back the covers? Oh, look at that. That's proper structure, isn't it?
It is, yes. It's a man-made surface, a person-made surface of local iron-rich sandstone.
I mean, that'll be showing up in the geophysics nicely.
I'd have thought so. Nice edge along there. I don't think that joint there can be made natural.
No, this is a structure for sure. So did you get any dating material out of it?
We've had one very small piece of pottery over in that tray over there, about as big as your finger end.
Oh, but it doesn't get much more black burnished than that. we'll have to show this to Grace in a minute, but I'm pretty sure that's either late Iron Age or early Romano-British, and that came out of there.
Yeah, sitting in the stones amongst here, yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
so that is a structure from the period we're looking for potentially.
Excellent, isn't
So
it?
can I see under your foot there that you're expanding this test
We
pit?
are. Corinne's ordered us
Super duper.
to extend the trench, and she wants a soil sample taken from this layer
Lovely.
immediately on top of there.
Fantastic. Well, I better leave you to it. You've got, what, an hour left today?
Are we? Righto.
Crack on. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Later.
By tea time, we've got 8 test pits and 2 large trenches on the go. But apparently, that's not enough for Derek. What on earth is going on? Chaps.
Hello, you
What
better
is
put
it?
this on, pal.
It's gone 5 o'clock and you're, what, looking like you're going to dig another trench?
Yes, we are, but
Better put one.
this one was, in a way, so straightforward. We could probably resolve this in plan quite quickly.
Tell me, where are we on the geophys?
With at what we think is the entrance. You know, we talked about this funnelled entrance going into the main banjo enclosure. Well, the one ditch comes through here. So the idea is if we take the trench across, go over that ditch, see what the big pits are on the geophysics inside, and see if we can find the other ditch on the second side. That's all.
Okay. But to start at 5:10, though, but...
Doesn't matter. I've got my beer ready for 5:30.
I was going to say it matters to me because presumably I'm going to be the one standing here digging it out. Okay, fire up, John. Let's get going.
It's a beautiful afternoon, just right for a geography field trip to nearby Studland Beach.
Yeah, so the geology here is rich in iron, and the beaches here at Studland and the cliffs, iron ore will erode out and we call it ironstone.
So is that what's causing all that red in the cliffs?
The red coloration on the cliff, yeah. So, and the ironstone pebbles will erode out and will form part of the pebble beach that's over there. So this little piece here is a piece of ironstone. This is a really good bit. You can tell because it's nice and high density, it's really heavy, and it leaves this lovely dark brown red ochre coloration.
So, oh yes, that is heavy, isn't it?
Yeah.
For a small pebble. So this can be smelted into iron.
Yes.
But also, you said ochre. Is
Yes.
this the same stuff as is used in the Paleolithic?
Yeah. So ochre crayons, ironstone crayons in the Paleolithic, 12,500 years ago, and then iron ore in the Iron Age, 2,500 years ago.
Back on site, we're beginning to see signs of industry. The banjo ditch and the bank all within Trench 1.
I think the story is there now. We're starting to get a sense of the chronology and the narrative, and it starts out, as we suspected on the geophysics, with an early enclosure, a ditch around an area where all of the upcast was chucked inside of the enclosure to make a bank, and we've actually got that bank preserved in places, I think, which is really unusual.
That's brilliant to see, isn't
we
it?
can see where that bank is, and what that then suggests is that site would have been visible for hundreds, if not 1,000 years, until the modern plough came and essentially trashed it. So that's probably why we've got then burials being buried here, because they're being buried inside a structure, inside a visible enclosure. And I suspect it explains the kiln as well, because banks are great places to build kilns. You just build it into the bank, you have your opening on the front. So it could well be that that kiln over there was dug into that bank, that earlier bank.
And what's happening over here?
Well, you know how you get an end of the day treat? So we've been looking for connections between our site and the harbour, and I think it might be emerging in this trench.
Do you remember we had this enclosure ditch?
Yeah.
Okay. And so James has taken out half of this ditch, and this is at the side of it here. And right on the side of it, about halfway down, it looks like some form of ceramic. But on closer inspection, we think it's briquetage.
What's briquetage?
Briquetage is used for the production of salt. So it's like a boiling pan, and it's really, really diagnostic of the late Iron Age.
Oh.
So what we think is happening here, briquetage is being made here, that those pans are being created, fired, and then they're being transported about 1 kilometre to the edge of the harbour, where actually that salt water is being harvested, boiled off, and from it, that salt is being produced.
So this is only the end of day 1, and already it's yielding so much. You must be delighted.
I can't wait for day 2. I just want to carry on. Do we have to stop?
Matt's still going in Trench 3, but predictably, the archaeology's not as easy as Derek had thought it was going to be.
Is that looking a bit yellow inside? Everything just looks kind of off-grade.
Oh, it's impossible to see in this light,
really
isn't it?
hard to see with the shadows and stuff.
Yeah. What I do is I dig your 10 metres there, and you may get better light in the morning.
Yeah.
We've had evidence of occupation from Iron Age to late Roman, but one thing in particular appealed to our finds team.
Absolutely. So these have come out this afternoon, and I'll let Rachel have a look at that one. I know that's a particular favourite.
Well, this one, again, black burnished ware. It's a base sherd, and at some point during the life of the vessel, somebody has gone to the trouble of drilling these holes through the bottom to change the use of a pot. They stop it being a container. It would now leak, can't be used. They wanted it for something else. It could be for a whole heap of things, from a flower pot to potentially a clock. If you filled the pot with sand and then filtered water through the sand, that would be a measure of the time it took for that water to go through.
Into the virtual museum it goes, to sit alongside the two women who lived here 2,000 years ago. The evening sun is throwing its light over a hillside that's defined this landscape for millennia. It's a source of inspiration to Dorset folk duo Ninebarrow, who are named after one of the monuments on the ridge.
The flames they move in sprightly
In Summer Fires is a song that it's literally written about this hillside. The traditions of Midsummer Day lighting fires in the high places around a settlement, and it being a time to look forward to the harvest and hope that it was going to bring everything that you dreamt of, and it was going to feed your family. And the idea was that you would leap over the dying embers of the flames of that fire, and the higher that you leapt, the higher your harvest would grow.
And what better way to celebrate Time Team's 30th birthday than with a Geotrigian-inspired hog roast as we consider our plans for day 2.
At the end of a really, really special day, and it just feels so appropriate that we end it with the whole of the Time Team family enjoying a pint. Cheers.
You jump high, but I jump higher. We'll dance tonight across the fire.
Join Time Team on Patreon to access exclusive 3D models, masterclasses, and behind-the-scenes insights.